everyone, welcome back to Belle's Books. I'm Carly and today I'm going to be doing my March wrap up for you, which quite frankly isn't very much because March was a difficult time and I just didn't get much read because of everything that was going on. My anxiety's been quite high and I haven't been able to concentrate like I usually would. So I actually only finished two books properly in March. And one of them is a Harry Potter, which I finished today, and today is the 4th of April, 5th of April. I don't know, I'm losing track of the days. So hello Katie. Katie's just come in. So today, Katie, not yet. Katie wants her meats. It's not meats o'clock yet. No, you have to wait. So I'm going to talk to you about the books that I read and the books that I'm still struggling with, still reading. Let's have a sip of tea. Wait a minute, Katie, please. Okay, so the first one that I finished in March was Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. I made a whole review video on this because I had a lot to say about it. So I will link that review in the description box below. Yes, Katie had a lot to say as well. I did enjoy reading it, but like I say in my video, it was not what I thought it would be. And I spoke to someone else about this because I think when you have an idea of a book going into it and then it's completely not as the marketing has made it out to be, that affects your reaction to that book. Anyway, so I think it is an important book, but I think maybe it should have been two different books. But yeah, anyway, I talked a lot about it in my review, so I'll link that below. Then I had my first DNF in a while because March was the Irish Readathon. I thought I would try and read some Irish authors. So I picked up History of the Rain by Niall Williams, which I only really knew about because it was recommended by another YouTuber. And she gave it rave reviews, so I thought, oh, I'll pick that up and try it. It sounded like literary fiction, and it had a quote from Emma McBride on the back that was endorsing it, and I was like, I love Emma McBride. She says it's good, it must be good. And I think maybe under different circumstances I would have finished it, but I just found it too meandering, which usually isn't a problem for me. But I just couldn't get into it. I think I gave it like 80 pages, maybe 100. And I just DNF'd it in the end because, yeah, I just couldn't. I wasn't following it. I was reading it and I kept reading the same sentence over again. And I was like, this is not engaging me. And I just took it back to the library. So maybe I will try again another time. If you've read it, talk to me in the comments below. Tell me if it's worth battling on with, because I know that Katie, not this Katie, Katie over at Books and Things, said that she found it a little bit meandering as well, but she stuck with it and she quite liked it. From what I can understand, it is the story of a woman who is very ill and kind of trapped in her attic room, like bedbound, and she is trying to discover her family history through books. So there's a lot of books in her house that were her father's, and she's reading those books to get to know her father a bit more. And I appreciated the literary references to all those other books, but it was just going off on a tangent, like starting to talk about the neighbours and the shops, and it was just on and on with meandering. I didn't like it. What do you think, Katie? And yeah, I just couldn't get on board. So tell me if I should have another go at it at another time when I can concentrate better. So that was a DNF. The next one I finished at the beginning of March was The Mercies by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. I listened to this on audio, and I got it from my library, my digital library app, which meant it was free on audio. Yes. And I really enjoyed this book. I loved it. I thought it was very engaging. The writing style was beautiful, and and I'm going to say cold, which is a weird word, but it's set in Iceland in the 17th century, if I can remember. So it's set around this real historic event of a fishing accident which killed all of the men in this really small remote village. So the community became a women only community, and they had to learn to fend for themselves, go fishing, and do all the things that the men would do, and they did it. And then this religious dude rocks up who's a right bastard from Scotland, and he wants to and he's suspicious of them because he thinks they're all witches, just because they are women that know how to look after themselves and don't have husbands. So it's, set around these witch trials that were going on during the time of James I. And because it's set in a cold climate, and the writing is it's beautiful, but it's kind of sparse, and the writing added to the atmosphere and the feeling of coolness and sparsity. It was just amazing. I really loved it. The characters were great, and also I found it was really good listening to it on audio, because I wouldn't have known how to pronounce those names and some of those words, particularly like one of the main characters in the book is it was pronounced Kirsten, and I thought that was spelt with an sh, sheer, like Kirsten. And I think it's like the church that they go to is called Kyrka, and both of those are spelt with a K. And when I look, because I picked up a copy at a bookshop to look at it, and I was like, what? Her name is Kirsten? In the book, it's, when she's reading it, it's like Kirsten. And I found that really interesting, because I love knowing how to say things properly. Katie, what are you doing? Katie's going all floppy. Good girl. So I really enjoyed listening to that on audiobook, and I would highly recommend that. And yeah, it was just a brilliant book. Kept me really engaged, and would definitely read more by that author. Where are you going, Katie? She's like doing some extreme lounging here. I'm having to really hold her up. I don't know how I'm going to hold these books up now. I'm holding this cat. She doesn't care. The next one I finished, which kept me absorbed throughout the whole of March, and it was the only thing that I could concentrate on, because I was trying to read another book and just that wasn't happening either. Should we try and do this? You put your feet on my belly then. It is Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. This one I was absolutely absorbed by, and I just couldn't put it down. It was so compelling, a real page turner, and usually not my jam, contemporary women's lit. And it is about Queenie Jenkins, who I think she's like 25. She works in publishing, but kind of like she's not really taken seriously, and we follow her after a breakup that she's really struggling with, because she thinks that it's a break and it's actually a breakup, and she's the whole way through the book she thinks she's going to get back together with her boyfriend, and you're following her navigating this breakup, and her mental health, which is slowly deteriorating, like not doing very well at her job because she can't concentrate, and she's having starting to have panic attacks, and she doesn't recognize it because she's not recognizing the way that her mental health is deteriorating, and her family don't recognize that mental health is a priority either, but she needs to go for counselling. There's a difficult relationship with her mum, some trauma in her past, but it sounds quite sad, but it is, but it's such a funny book. It's told in the first person from her perspective, and also like snippets of texts with her friends, like in a WhatsApp group, snippets of emails, and it's really funny, but also it deals with some really serious topics, and like racism, institutionalized racism. And oh God, Katie, you're making this very difficult. And yeah, how she's not taken seriously when she's trying super hard, and it's just, and she's such a great character. You're really rooting for her, and you, even though it's from her perspective, you can see all the things she's missing, and she's assuming, like, she catastrophizes a lot, and she's assuming the worst is going to happen. You're like, what are you doing? And you're really rooting for her, going, come on, Queenie, this is not what's happening. And I just loved it. I would just recommend it to anybody, particularly at this time. If you're struggling to read like I am, this really kept me engaged. So if you can get hold of a copy, definitely pick it up. Now, Katie, I need to look at my book. Oh yeah, and also the other audiobook I started after The Mercies was, or is, because I'm still listening to it, The Tidal Zone by Sarah Moss, which I am enjoying, but again, I'm finding it hard to stick to this one. Because I always listen to my audiobooks in the car when I was travelling to and from work. I'm not travelling to work anymore because I'm at home all the time, so I'm not really getting much audiobook time. When I put it on around the house, I just can't concentrate. I keep zoning out. It is about this family, mum, dad and 2 young girls, and teenage Miriam is 15, and her heart stops. She collapses at school, her heart stops, and then she goes to hospital, and it's the reaction of mostly her dad, because it's told from his perspective, trying to understand what happened to her when there's no answers from the doctors, and how they can go back to living with the threat of it happening again. So it's really interesting. I do like it, and also the only thing that I don't like is when he talks about his work. So he's an academic where he's like writing a book about this cathedral, and I'm finding that a little bit dull. The bits about Miriam and the family and how they're coping, their relationships. Look at this, honestly. Look at this girl. How their relationships are a little bit fraught, the relationship with his dad. I'm enjoying that, but it goes off on a tangent sometimes talking about his work, and that's just not my jam. I'm like, I zone out then. And so I haven't been listening to it as much. So yeah, again, I usually wouldn't have a problem with that, but I think it's just because of what's happening, I can't concentrate very much at the moment. So I'm going to carry on listening to it. I've got about 3 hours left on that one. What next, Katie? Oh, and the one I finished today, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which I'm going to attempt to pick up. Don't jump. Oh God, we're going to drop everything, Kate. Yay, I finished this today, and I was reading this throughout the whole of March. You should see this girl. She's just flopped. She's flopped. Very much enjoying my Harry Potter reread. Oh, Katie, they're all going to fall on the floor. Let's just let them fall on the floor. Oh, you raggedy bag. Yeah, it was lovely. Just really nice to be in the Harry Potter world, and now I can start to see some of the differences between the books and the films. Look at her, she's not moving. Is you all right? She just wants a cuddle, I think. So yeah, things like the Marauders map, when he finds out that the Marauders map was written by his dad, who is the Prongs from the Moody Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs. That's quite nice to find out stuff like that you don't get from the films. And his dad used to be an animagus and transform into a stag, which is why his Patronus is a stag. So that's pretty cool to get the stuff that you don't get from the films. So I know that's kind of happening more and more as the books go on. So I'm looking forward to now reading The Goblet of Fire for April, which is going to be part of my Owls. So yeah, that was lovely. And again, that took me longer. I don't know why, because it's easy to read and it's nice. I think because I was so absorbed with Queenie that I didn't read Harry Potter as quickly as I would have done. And I think, I can't see past Katie's bum. Oh, this one. The one that I'm still reading that's taken me ages. I don't know why, because it's a tiny book. Well, I do know why. It is Strange Hotel by Emma McBride, which I was very excited to get to because Emma McBride is an author that I am researching for my PhD. She has an experimental style. This is different to her first two books, but it's still in an experimental vein. So the language is different because she's using full sentences and punctuation in this book, but it's still very much an internal monologue of one character. In this book, a woman goes to various different hotels by herself, and it's just her talking inside her head the whole time. So you gather that she's had lots of different sexual encounters with lots of different people in these hotel rooms, and she is now revisiting those hotel rooms with the plan not to have more sexual encounters, but you're listening to her go over and over in her head why she's trying not to do that, and she's trying not to think about her past, but keeps getting caught up in reliving those experiences. So it is interesting, but the style is so different because it is full sentences and it's very wordy. Like before in the Lesser Bohemians and Girl is a Half-Formed Thing, there weren't sentences, it was just like random words, and it was very kind of, you're feeling it more than you're understanding it. And this, it's just very wordy. There's a lot of language going on. So yeah, it's quite different to previously, and you have to really engage with that. I think you have to really take it in, and I'm just not, and that's why it's taken me ages to read it, because I'm thinking about what's going on at the moment and getting very easily distracted, which, you know, it's bound to happen. It's expected. So I'm not putting too much pressure on myself. So yeah, I'm just going to carry on reading that as and when I can. And in the meantime, just crack on with the other reading that I'm going to be doing for my owls this month. And hopefully I can concentrate a bit better and get through a few more books. So Katie's getting very heavy. Even though she's very light, I'm holding her whole body because look at this girl. I've never had anything like it. She just doesn't want to get down. So I'm going to end it there because those are all the books that I have to talk to you about that I read or attempted to read in March. And I'm going to go and feed this girl because I think that's what she really wants. I will be doing another currently reading video, I think, soon, because I had a new book arrive today, which is my book club choice, The Tiger Flu by Larissa Lai. So I'm going to start that, and I'm going to check in with you to tell you how I'm getting on with that, because I've not heard much about that actually. Oh, she's ready to move. We better go. So I will sign off here. Thank you very much for watching. Talk to me in the comments below if you've read any of the books that I've talked about, particularly The History of the Rain. Should I give it another go or not? Let me know. And me and Katie will see you next time. Goodbye.